I'm delighted to welcome you to the Coafrwo Academy channel on YouTube. My name is Alphonse Mbeke Ndunga Metilame Yodi. I've been working on this concept for the past 17 years, and you will ask me why now? Now just because I think it's a good time to start building on this concept that I've developed while studying at the University of East London in Education and Community Development, then also at the Institute of Education at UCL in London. These two organizations provided me with cutting-edge courses that enable me to sustain these two concepts that I'm out with while doing my studies. As an African and being part of a world that has always excluded me and excluded people of my kind, I was always interested to try to understand why some situation were occurring most of the time to people of my kind. Why and the why conducted me to pursue my questioning, my inquiry within higher education. And within higher education, I've came across quite a lot of really interesting but also confusing and but also shocking things. But we have to acknowledge that this is what university is all about. Especially, I'm actually writing a book on these two concepts, and at the same time while writing the book, I just realized that there is so much knowledge that these two concepts are enabling to open and to acquire, that I decided to set up a learning center that will kind of where I will start kind of running classes and also social event here in Stevenage, in order to start developing this concept and offering knowledge to people that will be interested to come to share the knowledge and also build these two concepts, as well as building the organization we are setting up, because these two concepts are opening to a wide range of opportunities that I believe are going to also open quite a lot of possibilities in terms of businesses and also sustaining decent employment for some people as well as myself. We will be interested to have you people on board. You will ask me, what is Coafrwo? Coafrology, I will explain Coafrology in the next video. But for Coafrwo stands for Contemporary African World. It's an acronym, that is a neologism that I came out with as I was asking to myself, what exactly is our place in the world, as we are facing situation in Africa, where we are born, where we grow up, and then we run away to come to Europe, hoping that life conditions are better in Europe. But then when we arrive in Europe, we just find out that life conditions are not as better or as best as we were thinking compared to Africa. And then you find yourself in the middle between the desire to stay where you are, knowing that there are conditions where you live that are not allowing you or enabling you full development or full living as a human being, but worse when you go back to Africa, where the conditions are even more worse. So this is a dilemma that are facing the majority of African, whatever successful with money in Europe, they always find themselves asking themselves that question of who they are, where they are, and where they belong. So you can add to that the fact that we're living into a world that is structured with institutionalized injustice, inequality, discrimination, and also racism that are the background of most society in Europe. Based on that, you ask yourself, what can you do? What can you do? What you, as an intellectual, can you do to solve the problem? When I was thinking about what to do at that time, there was a situation here in the UK, in England, with the death of Stephen Lawrence. A crisis that really shocked the entire African community and also the African descent community. That was something that we couldn't explain, really. Such a violence against a young, promising young man that was just having to go home and just being in the wrong place and meeting the wrong people. He was brutally killed, and it was a loss for his family and a loss for our community. This was not the only case. There are many cases of brutality against black people, against African descent in the world. In America, we experience also quite a lot a situation with Trayvon Martin and many others. So when you think about all this element, all this crisis, all this situation, you end up asking to yourself what it is. So me, I think while writing my book, I think there is a condition, that is an African condition and African descent condition. It's a similar situation all over the world. But now, how are we overcoming this condition, this African condition? I'm explaining the African condition, the African descent condition very well in the book. In the book, I call it the contemporary African world condition. That's what it's all about. So this is where my reasoning is coming from, because you find yourself in a world where at higher education you study to learn that you yourself as a human being, you represent nothing. The world that you're coming from is not a wall. It's not considered as a wall. Africa in academia is not considered as a wall. It's not considered as in terms of civilization, a place that can be called a wall, because at the time Western were defining themselves, world was meaning civilization, mean advanced society, mean more modern society, more equipped society intellectually compared to the African, let's say, tribe or villages as they portray African all the time. So with the time, we coming to understand, while digging into internet and what is being thrown onto social media, that's not the case. It's a completely different story. So in facing new reality, new truth about yourself, about Africa, you find yourself with the obligation to rectify what was said, what was written, what was portrayed, what was put into books as the truth that is not. This is where my work is really basing itself, and Coafrwo is um, that world where I'm hoping that in a very therapeutic way, first of all, African descent and African will find some kind of place where to have a little bit of peace, psychological peace, or imagine peace, and imagine world, a world that you integrate into yourself as part of you, as your world, compared to the world that you living in, that is not yours, that is always you've been reminded that that world, you don't belong to that world, you've been just accepted, you've been just tolerated to live in that world. So I believe taking into account some work produced by psychologists and psychotherapists and some psychiatrists on the issue of the situation of the condition of mankind, that the idea of having into your mind your own perception of yourself is something that we should encourage. And also the imagined world is something that for me is paramount, because I find it difficult for people to start some fight for liberation necessary for independence of our African country and so on, without considering first of all to assessing who we are, who are we, what is our world, because all they define themselves based on a world that they recognize themselves with certain value. But we African, we are assuming that Africa is our world, but we don't realize that African is not our world anymore, based on concept, ideologies, and all the elements, the foreign element that are actually impacting, influencing, and changing completely the life of African, to the point that even African DNA is changed because of those ideology. So this is where we are hemming, and Coafrwo is that world, is that environment, is that space that we want to make our space and accept ourselves within that space. So this is just the beginning. It's the first video. We will talk about the Coafrwo in depth. Before the moment, we set up a company in Stevenage that will start kind of offering classes, lessons on Coafrwo, because we're looking for people that will be teaching, that are interested to teach, people that will be interested to do some mentoring, and everybody is called to play his part. So I'm really excited to talk to you about this concept. But while we're talking, I really wish you to subscribe to our YouTube account, and also on all our other Facebook or Instagram and whatever account. Please, it's very important, because you will be having our day-to-day information videos on explaining more on these concepts. So this is what I wanted to share with you today, and we're looking forward to see you in our seminars, our lecture and conferences, and any other social event. I wish you a nice evening. Bye now.